Well, hello everybody. 1 month ago, I rented a Onewheel XR and rode it around and left a review and everything, and since then I have purchased a pint. And today I'd like to talk about, how the pint's working out and maybe a comparison with the pint and the XR. And spoiler alert, okay, I'm just going to cut to the end. If you have enough money that the price difference doesn't matter, you just get the XR, right? That's the bottom line, because the XR is better in pretty much every way. Although I tell you what, if you are kind of a value shopper and you end up buying the pint like I did, there are some advantages of the pint over the XR, so I'll talk about those too. But in general, it's like almost twice as expensive, and it's just kind of like better, right? As you would expect. Okay, I bought this pint from a semi-local dealer, eCarve in Newport Richey, Florida. Their website is ecarvetheride.com. Set me up with a pint. I'm an hour and a half away from the store and was able to meet the owner part way, which was super awesome. I mean, that's definitely going above and beyond the call of duty, and I appreciate that. Had it for one day, and then the thing crapped out on me. And this was like a Saturday night, and I was like, oh, so excited about going for a ride, and the thing kind of bought the farm. And so I texted Scott on a Saturday night, and this, like, you can't expect this because this is like I shouldn't have even texted Saturday night, but I did, and he responded in 10 minutes. So I don't want to set the bar like super high for their customer service, but I would say that was pretty freaking unbelievable. We ran through a few things, and it turns out, yeah, has to go back. Um, Now, unfortunately, the dealer is not able to handle these warranty issues for you, so you have to deal with uh, the Onewheel bunch themselves. And I would give their customer service like kind of like A minus A. It was good. They did give me a label. I put it in the box, dropped it, whatever, in the mail or whatever, and it went all the way to California from Florida, and they fixed it, and it came all the way back in 13 days, which is pretty good when you consider that most of that is just going to be in transit. And they did send me some email updates along the way, like, we've received it, we've looked at it, this is what's wrong, okay, it's back in the mail, and here's a tracking number. So that was pretty good. I mean, I got to say, it didn't live up to the service that eCarve did, which is kind of unbelievable, but it was pretty good. I think that it could be better. Like, if I was going to critique it, I'd be like, well, if you have a dealer network out there and somebody buys a brand new board and then it craps out on day two, uh, loan them something and then handle the return for the customer, and then so they're like not without a board for 2 weeks, because you get this new thing and you dump $1,000 and you're just so excited to use it, and then you can't, and then that kind of sucks. But I would say that, like, that return warranty issue was pretty good. So okay, so I got it back. It's all fixed. I've ridden it about 50 miles, and definitely enjoying the pint. It's a very maneuverable little sucker. It zips all over the place, super snappy, super fun. The balance is a little bit more difficult than the XR because the wheel's a little bit narrower. So, but I'm if north of 50, and part of this is kind of maintaining some semblance of physical ability and balance and things like that. So I'm not really opposed to a less stable surface, and in some ways it's kind of maybe a little bit better, maybe. And over those 50 miles, I mean, my comfort level on this board has improved dramatically. So there's that. Less stable, but maybe that's a good thing. And the other thing, people like to talk about is like, well, the speed. And when when I demoed the XR, I was getting pushed back at like 16 or 17 miles an hour, like all the time. And with the pint, I get pushed back at about 14 miles an hour, and you wouldn't think that's much different, but it is significantly slower. However, I did have one episode where I took off, real hard acceleration, got up to full speed, and the nose went into the pavement, and I went flying, and like I didn't like go down in a heap, like tumble, but it was definitely an awkward, ungainly, thing. I you know, People stopped and asked me if I was okay, and I was embarrassed, and it was kind of whatever. But my point is, a top speed of 15 miles an hour, say 16 miles an hour, maybe 14. That is not a terrible thing because you might step off this thing at full speed, and at 14 or 15, you have a chance of running out of it and not going down and scuffing your upper body or breaking your collarbone or hurting your wrist or some kind of moderately serious injury. I mean, there is a chance of pulling it out. So, and then the other thing is that buzzing around in this thing, it's surfy, it's carvy, a lot of times I'm cruising around about 12 or 13 miles an hour. I'm not getting pushed back. I'm going fast enough. I mean, it and I don't want to be whatever, but it was a little bit scary, like when that happened. And, I see the pavement kind of there, and I'm like, gee, if I kind of ate it right here at this speed, that would be kind of bad. So I'm not really opposed to a slightly lower top speed of the Pint. I think this is like a disadvantage of the Pint, but it also in some ways is an advantage of the Pint. I think the pushback's a little bit stronger, so it gives you a little bit more of a warning, like, hey, you're getting close, which is good. But that's that. The another thing about the Pint is the getting off function. Now, the Pint has a mode where you can just tip the board back, set it on its tail, and then step off. And that is great. The XR, you have to kind of like lift up your heel or lift up your toe on your front foot, and then you can tip it back. And that for me, like, I never was able to get that dialed. Just rocking back in the tail is a little bit tricky, but at least you can kind of get off at least I can kind of get off the thing without killing myself most of the time. So I kind of like that feature. I think that's a good thing. There are presets to adjust how the board responds, and you get more presets on the XR than you do on the Pint. And you also have a customization function on the XR that you do not have on the Pint. Now, I kind of am like, boo, this isn't close. Like, the electronics are like the same or close enough. And just why do you neuter the Pint that way? Why don't you just give it the full feature of the XR? I understand because they got the price point difference and they got to add value to the XR. But in my mind, it's kind of like, gee whiz, guys, come on. Like, just give us the presets. That'd be really, really good of you. But they don't. So that's a little bit of a drawback. Now, on the good side, uh, I didn't feel that much difference between the presets or the custom settings on the XR, and I don't feel too much of a difference between the settings on the Pint either, except for the one setting has a lower top speed. I mean, obviously I do notice that, but yeah. So presets, that is a difference between the boards too. So you got speed, presets, you got getting off the thing. Those are differences. And then, of course, finally you got the range. And the range, now I'll pop up a screenshot here. I've run out of battery twice with the Pint already. Okay, so I thought going 6 to 8 miles would not be an issue whatsoever. And I mean, the thing's kind of new, so I really like to, get out there and cruise around a little bit. But I'm kind of bumping up against that mileage limit a lot more than I thought I was going to, and I think that is you can't get around that as far as a disadvantage with the Pint. And then when you get low on battery, okay, so when you get down to 10% battery, this is like hilarious. Okay, the board wants you to stop before you run out of juice, because if you're flying along at 14 miles an hour and you just run out of battery, the nose will go in and you'll go flying. So it wants to take care of you and make sure that doesn't happen. Okay, so what it does is you start to get pushback all the time, like continuous pushback. And the pushback starts off kind of small, and then it will increase, like the nose of the board will rise up until the tail of the board is literally dragging on the ground. Okay, so and the first time this happened, I was like, well, I'm pretty close to the house. I'll just kind of like try to ride in this awkward stance and just kind of get back because I don't want to have to carry it. But the nose kind of kept on climbing, and the tail kind of started hitting the ground, but the wheel didn't stop. And okay, now I literally can't stop because I'm already in that tail down position, what you would normally do to stop the Pint, but it's not stopping. Like, it's continuing to roll forwards. And so now I have to try to like jump off this thing from from this inclined stance, which for me was incredibly awkward. And okay, PG-13 alert here. I'm gonna show a picture of my toe that I bruised, and the bruise looks pretty bad, but my feet look pretty bad too. So you may not want to see this. I just look away for 10 seconds, but I'm gonna show you. Okay, there it is. That's what my toe looked like after after jumping off. So okay, I'll take it down. You can look back again, but that is a very curious safety feature. It's like literally when you run out of batteries, you can't stop. So the second time I ran out of juice, which was just today, when I start, hit that 10% threshold, your phone rings. Hey, you're down to 10%. Stop, stop. And I started feeling a little bit of that pushback, and I was like, you know what? I'm off. Like, this is it. I'm walking. And it was a fairly short walk, but I was not going to risk that can't stop the pint anymore, which is really really crazy, but okay, that's how it is. So in summary, the pint is definitely fun, zippy, and safe. I mean, sort of. And as far as advantages over the XR, well, it is cheaper. So we've got that. No, just kidding. It's actually more maneuverable, easier to dismount, and safer too. So there are some legitimate pluses, as well as legitimate drawbacks, which include less range, it's slower, and it is less stable. Those are just the facts. Okay, so I hope that this video was entertaining and kind of informative. It was a lot of fun to make, and enjoy the ride. See you next time.